Seasons pass, empires fall, but the lazy among us just keep their heads down and their feet up, don't they? I have made a bit more progress on this winter coat over the, well, winter. Hello again, by the way. Happy New Year and all that. But as you can see, we're not really quite there yet. I guess it is often said that you should buy your winter clothes in summer, and indeed vice versa. And I suppose the same goes for making them. Yeah, so here's what I have done in between lounging around across the Christmas holidays and beyond. Yeah, I've done the pockets on both sides. I put the facings in, finished canvassing. You know, none of that in the order I've just described, but you get the drift. And yeah, so we are now up to the lining, which is a nice little tipping point of the project, I guess. Yeah, I don't actually need this for now, not for a little moment or two. Yeah, so I've got here this nice sort of slate black, mid-weight-ish for a lining, Cupro fabric. It's kind of like sort of acetate-y faux silk kind of situation. And yeah, I think it picks up like the darker colours in the tweed quite nicely. But of course it will also show up those pistachio ice cream stains when I actually debut this coat in something like June, the way things are going. Anyway, let's not be so pessimistic. So again, thinking about the lining piece in the reverse, this obviously is the right side, and this is the front, the right front lining panel, basically. Yeah, and what I'm making here is a kind of just, yeah, a secondary internal pocket. Oh God, this is gonna be fiddly, isn't it? Yeah, so a sort of secondary internal pocket, in addition to the inevitable Barcelona pocket that's gonna go in that classic sort of left breast position. Yeah, and so instead of being a Barcelona pocket, and if you don't know what that is, you can watch it here. Again, that pocket has its own funky construction pattern, as well it might. I'm gonna just do a kind of more traditional pipe pocket as like what I've done already on the jacket fronts themselves. And yeah, my reasoning is I quite like on my big sort of winter parka that I otherwise wear as a winter coat currently, there's a pocket in a similar position, and I just always quite like carrying around like a little book or something there. And you know, this is my diary, which I'm trying to start keeping again this year, as in like a written diary. And yeah, I figured, you know, could just slot in there, be a nice little hidden compartment for some purpose like that. Who knows what other contraband I'll find to stash in there. So yeah, what I should have done, I think, for this purpose, and what I would do if I had my time again, is when cutting the facing piece, instead of just having it a straight edge here where it will get attached to the lining front, have it sort of extend out into the position or wherever that I would want the pocket. So I guess it would maybe come around here. Instead of it being cut off here on the facing edge, it would extend out here and there'd be this shape that I would then work around, and then that would just give me a bit more stability basically, because this is obviously a nice sturdy fabric compared to this rather flimsy, again by comparison, Cupro fabric. Yeah, I'm kind of wary of asking this fabric to do too much structural work basically. You know, these lining fabrics famously fray quite easily, and it's not the most sturdy fabric in the history of weaving. But yeah, I just figure if I make the pocket small enough that I can't be tempted to insert anything especially heavy or bulbous, then I should be in the clear. And yeah, look, as you can see, what I've done here is just done some, I didn't want to interface the whole thing because I think especially with this crinklier fabric, it can sort of distort and, what's the word, ripple essentially the look of the fabric on the right side. You might see this maybe if you have like a t-shirt with a pocket or something on the inside, there'll be, on the little corners, there'll be a bit of interfacing, so where the actual edges of the pocket are going to go, you know, where the most stress is going to be put under. And then as ever, wherever I put it, I'm going to put stripper pocketing there as well and proceed as usual. Yeah, and I was umming and ahhing as to whether I would use garment fabric for the flaps for the piping or lining fabric. Again, I felt like perhaps in the end the disparity in weight between the garment fabric and the lining fabric might just cause a bit of trouble basically. You know, if I have this big heavy tweed and, you know, flaps made thereof kind of hanging off or hanging on stitches put through this lining fabric, then it might just be a sort of match made in, if not hell, then at least purgatory. So I've decided I'm going to basically do sort of lining on lining piping basically. So won't have that nice sort of contrast that you get with the Barcelona pocket, for instance. And again, maybe that should be the example that I should have followed of why it's actually probably going to be okay. But in any case, that's what I've decided, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah, and on that note, I've just spontaneously decided also to rather terribly interface the wrong sides of the flaps to be as well, just because I'm also wary that, you know, these are fabrics that do tend to wear a lot with time. Obviously, you know, I hope to have this coat for a long time, as long as I can have it, you know, several years, if not decades. It's kind of inevitable that a fabric like this will, you know, eventually start to wear under the strain, especially if there's a pocket that's made out of that fabric. I just want to do everything I can basically to help it last as long as it can. Let's do it this way. Again, I just don't know why I'm incapable of cutting the correct size pieces, even in straight lines, but what are you gonna do? It's not like there's video proof of it or anything, is there? Yeah, so I talked in the last video, which ironically enough, I think was like, you know, 2 months ago, about the kind of just difficulty of trying to chill out about getting projects done on time. Got no idea if this is actually perpendicular, but who cares? Now, if like me, you kind of live where there's a seasonal climate and there is a rhythm to the weather and all those sorts of things. This feels like a kind of more pressing problem perhaps than it would if, you know, you're just down there in tropical Brazil or something and you're just making another pair of linen shorts, or what on earth am I talking about? But yeah, these rhythms to the weather obviously dictate what it is you make and when you make them. You know, I really thought, okay, if I get started on this in the, what was it, basically still the back end of summer, I think it was like mid-September, then yeah, I was like, oh, well, surely by at least some point in the winter I will have got this done, you know, by my usual routine, by my usual tempo. But, you know, as I said last time, things get in the way. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, God, these fabrics generally are just so shifty, it's impossible to tell whether you're doing anything correctly. Now for the dramatic denouement. Ooh. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why in the previous projects I've done, I've gone for these different kind of lining fabrics, either just cotton or this, I think it's called like Venezia lining fabric, which is a bit kind of, I don't want to say rougher, but a bit more grainy to the touch and not quite so insanely slippery as this one. But then I also thought it's time to A, up my game, and B, get the right result that I actually want rather than this sort of half-baked alternative. Ugh. Yeah, okay, interesting. Not the best, not the worst. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I think I really had wanted to get it done for the winter, partly just to find out, basically, because I've never had a coat like this, just to really experience what thermal effects, basically, this tweed can have. You know, the winters where I live can get pretty cold, and it certainly has been a really cold one this year so far, and, you know, remains pretty chilly, to say the least. You know, it would have been interesting to see, and, you know, maybe it still will be, just how well this tweed will fare. Yeah, I mean, it might just be that this turns out to be more of a kind of early spring, late autumn kind of coat, you know, that nice little transitional item. When the frosts have cleared, or are beginning to, and the buds are budding, the bees are buzzing and the birds are, I don't know, the birds are a wing, and, you know, that would, you know, be fine, I guess. It's just not necessarily what I've been aiming for, and I would then be left wondering, well, just how heavy would the tweed have to be in order to fulfill that function? It feels pretty heavy. I think this might be joining the ranks of my least neat pockets ever sewn. Not that there is a single neat one among them, but anyway. Oh my God, I haven't even told you about my new shears yet, have I? My little Shozaburo Tobasamis. Yeah, someone was an extremely lucky boy this Christmas. Just watch how these babies glide. Holy moly. Yeah, no shade to my old shears, but this really is night and day. But as for the supposed delay, as I said in the previous video, I'm kind of over it a bit now. I've managed to calm down a bit over the holidays, when you may have noticed that I've been rather inactive, at least as far as posting videos is concerned. I've just had a lot of other stuff going on, stuff taking up my time, and that's just fine, really, isn't it? So it's sort of pulling open a little bit, isn't it? But should serve the purpose. And yeah, not the most sightly thing, but then again, good things on the inside, isn't it? Does this fit? Will it blend? Yes, it do. All right, then let's put this all together. I'd like to be able to say that I went to great pains to ensure that the inner hip pocket was not gonna be overlapping with the outer hip pocket, but obviously not great enough, because it looks like even if I'd been trying, I could hardly have made them line up any better. So that'll be fun, won't it? I look like I've got some sort of third hip growing out of my pelvis. Anyway. And this could get a little bit frenetic sewing this. Yeah, well, at least I shall indeed have that little nook for my diary. Or perhaps I can use it for my passport when I'm making my summer holiday trip to Death Valley or something, clad in this nifty number. I've decided that my motto for 2026 will be, it'll take as long as it takes.